Hello and welcome, or welcome back indeed, to Leeds United. Yes, this is technically a new save, but we're picking up where we left off. So if you haven't seen the original series, which was the beta series for this channel for Football Manager this year, 4 seasons worth, the link to that playlist will be down below. This will continue on in that playlist, but it'll also have its own separate playlist, just in case, to make things a little bit neater. So if you don't want to be spoiled what happened, then dip away now. This is probably like the most spoiler-free of these pages, but largely because I did do a simulation without me as manager, just to see how they would get on without me. Part of the reason why I'm doing this is effectively a refresh series, because this is how I would have done it. But last year, we did win the title, the Premier League title. We've actually won nothing else. I think we may have done a Carabao Cup, and that's probably about it. So I figured I'd do the transfer window, and I'd bring you back for the Community Shield, which we've yet to do. As I say, we've not done great in the FA Cup, and we haven't done anything in Europe outside of the Conference League. By the way, you can just see there, favoured personnel. I'm in it, along with Dominik Szoboszlai and Marko Milovanovic. If there were going to be 2 players, I'm glad it's those 2. I can't really talk you through the squad, other than the ones you can see above me. Key player João Pedro, who we got on a free. Still confused by that one. And our vice-captain, Tyler Adams, remains as captain, and effectively one of the few remaining players from the original squad. But in this transfer window, Patrick Bamford's outbound free transfer went through to Empoli. Obviously, servant of the club, former captain, just outclassed now as a striker. And the only other reasonably notable sales is $7.5 million for Lewis Bate, presumably Bate. Don't really understand why he was worth that much, but he's gone to Celta Vigo for $7.5 million, you fools. And Wilfried Gnonto has gone for $14.5 million. Literally never played for me. I loaned him out straight away. Never really developed on any of his loans. He did okay on them, but never really developed on his loans, so he just cashed in. He had 1 year left on his regular contract, so... And then kind of the big one, just because he was upset about playing time and just wouldn't get over it, is Verissimo's gone to Newcastle at the age of 31 now for $35.5 million. All told is $25 million up front, $26 million up front, something like that. Either way, our rotation centre-back. I think this came about because Man United bought Gvardiol off Newcastle for over $100 million. And I tell a lie, there's a couple more sales just because they kind of snuck in before the season ticked over. Andre Santos, again, 1 year left on his contract, just didn't really develop as much as I hoped he would. And the fact he's still got 1.5 stars in his development space at 22, despite the fact he's played a reasonable amount for us. $15.5 million. It's still a profit. He's gone to Tigres in Mexico. We seem to sell a lot of people to Mexico. And similarly, 30 years old now, Robert Skov, 1 year left on his contract. Really feel like renewing it. He's actually signed for a reasonable wage there, so I'm kind of a little bit annoyed. I maybe could have done it, but this was also partially because we'd already agreed to get Gosens in on a free, and we already had 2 left-backs without Skov in the first place. So with 1 year left on his contract, figured we'd cash in $12 million. He's gone to Nice. It's technically a loss. He was never, fantastically sensational. So inbound, as mentioned, free agent, Robin Gosens, left into Milan, figured we'd pick him up. He's 32. His physicals aren't sensational, but again, free agent. And actually, in the same boat, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, his physicals have pretty much gone, but with Skov going, we didn't really have a bench player with great set pieces. So this is kind of largely what we've gone for here. Sebastian Szymanski, you may recall from a previous save, if you're long-term on this channel, I think it was Newcastle, who was a surprising standout set-piece assister, basically, was also available on a free, just nowhere near as good in that department this year. I think he might actually just be variable, because I remember I looked him up on a stream save and he wasn't as good there either last year too. So Çalhanoğlu available, physicals aren't great, but he's going to be an off-the-bench player. And for free agents, that's it. Now we get to the person who's probably on the thumbnail. We had money, he wanted to leave. He was transfer listed at 40 million, figured that's actually less than what they sold him for, by 3 million. We'll bring him home. Also, technically, someone free to register in the Champions League because he's homegrown club. It was a space that would have gone wanting otherwise, so why not get him back? Welcome back, Calvin Phillips. He actually played 90 times in the game for Manchester City. I genuinely forget he's still there in real life. He essentially comes in, and I can't show you the full formation yet, but we play a 5 at the back, and occasionally there is a version when we're playing away at big teams where we have a defensive midfielder. He'll basically be the first choice there, and when we're playing the 3 across the middle in midfield, he'll be the box-to-boxer. There are a couple of youth prospects we brought in. This guy from Bolton. He's not good now, but he can become eligible at Leeds, so I am not loaning him out. He's probably the best of the bunch. There's a few funds from foreign clubs, and I genuinely forgot about the limit for British clubs signing foreign under 21s, I think it is. And I have maxed that out, which is my bad. Some of them came from like testing scouting strategies, and some of them aren't good. So that's going to backfire on me. But Matt Cox from Bolton, we'll let him develop. We'll see how he gets on in a few years. The only other really major signing we can talk about is someone else who was transfer listed and wanted to leave Lazio. Why now? I don't know. Why not before now? But yeah, he may be 31. We may have spent £41 million on him, but I'm hoping he falls into the Casemiro bracket in that respect. Also 20 natural fitness. He's going to hold on to those attributes for quite a while, one would hope. Probably the remainder of his contract, which is 3 years, might be an optional extra year in it. There is. And even at 31, he's worth more than 41 million. 120 grand a week is now our maximum wage as well. That's gone up by 20 grand. That was initially triggered by, I think, Zoboslai's recontract. But yes, 20 natural fitness and an array of yellow. Still only 4-star player for us. Yeah. Now I can actually go on to our full team sheet because those are the only inbounds that worth mentioning. That's because João Pedro is 4.5. Milovanovic is the only other player on 4 stars, interestingly. Not Makoko, who we have, Milovanovic. But yeah, João Pedro looks like this. Realistically, he actually looks worse. I think it's just because he's got 4 very strong positions he can play and he's regarded more stars. Yeah, he's decent. I still don't get that. This isn't even a 6-month end of contract thing. He was just free. And that's what Milovanovic looks like. I don't know why he's 4 stars. You compare him to Milinkovic-Savic, his Serbian teammate. I can't explain why they're the same star rating. For people following me over from the previous series of this, as I say, Zoboslai, new contract, 120 grand a week, worth every penny. Unbelievable season last season. 24 goals in 41 starts with 11 assists to boot. He is worth every penny of his new contract. Carlo Sensi got a new contract. This was because Bayern bid for him, and I said, we'll offer you money instead if that's what you want. And he went, yeah, sure, give me 60 grand. So 60 grand he got because that's reasonable. It was only on 22 grand before, somehow. Still only worth 20 to 29 million, really. So yeah, don't understand that one. His value is still bafflingly low. I figured if we gave him a contract that was effectively 3 times his wage, that might go up significantly. Nope. Maybe the full reputation still got some way to go there. But people new to this, joining me at this stage for whatever reason, but a couple of people that were paying attention, a couple of people who have got faces in this game, as Albanos, a rotational right back, still got 5-star potential. Archie Gray will be played for the first time in the save. Haven't got a face for him. That's unfortunate. But having loaned him out to Besiktas last year, now that he's actually trained at Leeds, I loaned him out, had a bit of a development. He's 2.5 stars. He comes in, basically replaces Andre Santos in the overall setup, and is homegrown. Still has 5-star potential. Joel Linton remains. He's the one most likely to leave at this point. As you've seen, we've made midfielder acquisitions, so Joel Linton the one most likely to leave at this stage. Oscar Gluk, I believe, has a bid on him, or maybe he rejected it. I can't remember what happened there. But really, our star wonder kid is Detlev Gottschling. We bought him for 60 million, but anyone who's played FM in the recent few years, realistically, a problem that's persisted over multiple years now, fullbacks are a problem. So finding one that seems to be pretty good, you pay what you can get from. He's worth an absolute boatload and has developed into our starting right back, will be our starting right back. I'm sure Livramento will be annoyed at some point, but frankly, lad, you're not as good as you were last year. Simple as that, really. I should also say, with Verismo leaving, we now only have 5 de facto centre-backs. Lovric is the 6th. I kind of figured he's regarded as League One now, which seems under. That said Championship last time I looked at him. I guess he's not that great, but 6'4", 16 jumper reach. If we play him a little bit more, that might be useful. But he is actually trained at Leeds now, so I could actually loan him out. We'll see on that front. Calvin Phillips can play centre-back, of course, at 5'10". Won't be ideal. But if we're having to resort to a 6th centre-back, then things have gone wrong. I figure with a bit of game time, he might develop. But obviously no such issues for the game that we will be playing in this episode, which is Chelsea in the Community Shield. Don't normally care about this, but it is literally the first one we've done, and it's a nice little header, considering it's, no offence to Fulham, Norwich, etc., but obviously the best fixture we've got in this initial run. I should mention at this stage, this portion of this series is going to take a slightly different form. It's going to sort of be halfway in between kind of beta style and the spread out rebuild kind of style that I did with the West Ham rebuild. So we're going to check in 4 times a year. At the start, somewhere around winter, somewhere around where the Carabao Cup final would be, and then obviously the end of the season, be that title deciding, be that FA Cup final, be that Champions League final if we're there, basically. Around the end of the season, essentially. Whether that takes form of 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, who knows, might be bumper. But we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. There seems to be very few games in this period. I guess potential European football pops in there. Right now, first silverware, And at a neutral venue, I think we'll go with the three across the middle. Chelsea, obviously, a good side here. This is our lineup for it. Obviously, there's no concessions made. We are playing our best 11, which is Karnasecki, Ndicka, Milenkovic, Cresswell, Valeri at left back, Gottschling at right back, Zoboszlai in the box-to-box today, Milinkovic, Savic in centre mid, Armada as the roaming playmaker. He's got over his concerns of contracts or whatever it was. Milivojevic and Pedro up front. Pedro with the pressing role with his 15 aggression. Neither of them are left-footed, if I remember rightly, but they do have decent left feet. Milivojevic, not left-footed, but fairly strong. We'll take it. This is a world where Chelsea still have Jorginho 4 years in. He's got to be like 36, 34. Not as old, but good God, those physicals have evaporated. To be fair, there's a surprising lack of development from Chelsea here. Koopmeiners in, Ibanez in defence, Carlos Soler and Yeremy Pino. 4 out of 11. Do they have Fofana? They have Fofana in real life, don't they? Yeah, 4 out of 11, considering Lukaku's loan has ended and he's just not gone out again. Considering this is the 5th season, essentially, only 4 starters have changed. How odd. Early highlights. I should mention, of course, we do use in-game kits that have been generated by moi via software. Sergei Milinkovic-Savic with the first highlight and his first contribution, really, and it's an assist. João Pedro, within 7 minutes, makes it 1-0. And because the game likes to invert the replays, here we go from the opposite angle. So with a, what is that, a side kick, back kick? I don't know what it is, but it's cheeky from SMS. He's onside, as highlighted here. Just, wow. 24 plays him on. The right back, I think. Yeremy Pino tackles Valery on the left-hand side. Don't know why I said Valery, not Valeri, but okay. Gottschling. How has that evaded both Chilwell and the other one? João Pedro hits the crossbar now. That should have been 2. How Gottschling's pass evaded 2 of their defenders, no idea. But I'm also not going to complain. Reece James just as a right back, not as a right wing back, is a curious decision as well. Feel like he's probably best utilised when he's allowed to roam a little bit further forward, but Koopmeiners, Lukaku, is tackled by Gottschling. Zoboszlai gathers that. In the end, Ndicka finds Valery. I'm stuck saying it the wrong way now. Milovanovic eventually scores. Almost toyed with Mendy there, I feel like. It's sort of like a, I'm gonna shoot, I've shot. It took him ages to pull the trigger there, but Valeri through to Milovanovic, a terrible tackle for number 33, and just takes like 3 or 4 touches. Mendy doesn't come rushing out. It sort of just gives him the opportunity to go, I'll just take my time here, and take his time. He did. Eventually, finding the coolest slotting past Mendy, he could choose one touch, and it ends. There we are. Koopmeiners is in one of my favourite roles, the Volante, not using them here, but not really seen much from him today. Jorginho's been booked, 40 minutes in. Lukaku, slide tackled. Armada's got the ball, but the football manager things happen and eventually ends up back with Chelsea. Sterling, that's going to end with Ndicka heading it to one of my other defenders, who actually does something sensible by heading it to Karnasecki, who then hoofs it, contrary to our instructions. Koopmeiners, Yeremy Pino, Soler, back to Yeremy Pino, that's evaded Ndicka. You'd think having 3 centre-backs would stop that problem. Nope. Lukaku runs back to the centre circle as if it's the 88th minute. I mean, I get Yeremy getting behind our fullback there, because that's kind of the instructions. Just sort of hit Karnasecki in the face and go in, but a little bit concerning. Still, 2-1, and a head on, literally their own shot on target. Welcome to Football Manager. At 2-1, there's not really a thing I can do. I could probably shout praise, they might like that. I could shout encourage, they might still like that. I don't know. Seems to be a very variable situation. If this ends up being an equaliser, then very much I can encourage. But that's the highlight over as Karnasecki gathers a rebounded Chilwell shot. Having Cresswell on our side does make things confusing. That's gone in the goal. Zoboszlai's offside. I don't know what that's relevant to or not. We're seeing a goal. We're seeing goal line technology in action here. That's FM's goal line technology. Useless. One thing I don't understand about that is they definitely used to be able to do a bird's eye view of that in previous FMs. Am I just imagining that? Anyway, it's 73 minutes on the clock. We've made no changes. This might ironically be Dominic's worst game he's played for us. Julian Ord, by the way, we do have him. He might be utilised in the midfield role more often than not now, but Calvin Phillips in box to box. Armada gets replaced with, you know what? We'll bring Çalhanoğlu on there as a set piece taker. 2 of our summer signings. In fact, an all new midfield, effectively. Two of my centre backs are. I'm presuming I've got 5 subs here. Just change both fullbacks, give it a little bit of life to that position. Probably won't actually make a 5th unless SMS is, as a time-wasting exercise hour on for SMS. Sorted. 2-1. Second half was a bit dull, really. I get to join in with this one, apparently. Karnasecki looks enormous. No, I don't. I have to stand off. Apparently I'm not allowed on the stage. As our captain precariously holds a giant plate in the sky by 2 of the bottom edges. Who is lifting that? Because Tyler Adams is club captain. Awara is vice captain. But Adams didn't start and now R came on. Is it Evan and Dicker that's next in line? I'm guessing so. Oh, what a way to start the season. Apparently you get medals for that. Even the bench players who didn't come on. Feel a little bit sorry for Ghostons then. I won't bother with that press conference. Gottschalk is suspended for the league, apparently. So, looking at December, which is where we're likely to come in, obviously the Champions League stage will be somewhere around here. The final games go into January at some point. So, I can see Manchester City, I can see both Arsenal and Liverpool, depending on how the Champions League's going. We might do 2 of these. We might do one of those 3 with a Champions League game. And then around March, and then the end of the season, whatever is important down there. The idea is essentially to release these once a week on a Wednesday so that we get through a season a month, effectively. Now, that schedule might change. I might end up doing more videos in general, which will then bring the number of these videos up. The F1, if you're interested in the F1 series, then that's not going to stop either. This isn't a case of doing one or the other. I'm going to try and do both alongside each other, 2 Grand Prix a week with 1 FM, and then I might step things up even before the end of May. I don't know yet. But I'm kind of a bit on a flexible schedule, and streaming will return too with the Czech Builder Nation, which I have sort of neglected for quite some time now. Do apologise, real life got in the way. I knew real life was going to get in the way, but other real life happened as well and just snowballed effectively. So I apologise for vanishing Twitch-wise. Football Manager as a whole, both here and on Twitch, will resume. The F1 stuff will not stop either. I'm not going to be streaming it, but it will continue being released on YouTube. Hopefully, I'll be seeing a lot more of you soon. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't done so already, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Until next time, ta-ra.